Joni Lamb just shook things up with a revelation no one saw coming. We've heard Jonathan and Suzy Lamb's side, but there's a missing piece, a shocking detail about what happened with her 5-year-old daughter when Pete was in the room. This detail is so significant that Julie Roys, who initially released an article and investigation, might even retract her statements. And here's the twist. Rachel Lamb, Joni Lamb's own daughter, has confirmed a few of these details. What's really going on? Today we're digging into both sides of the story to uncover the truth. Let's dive in.
Pete said, well, I like the city view too. And so he said, I want to see your city view. So they went up the stairs.
The grandson and Pete, and Pete had the baby.
The grandson, Pete, and the baby. Now, all those details have been left out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they went up the steps, and again, I was there. I heard this whole conversation. And around the same time, or maybe just a few minutes after, I don't know exactly when, but my granddaughter went up to the room and went over to her side while Pete and the baby and my grandson were looking out the window at the city view.
Okay.
And she proceeded to put her bathing suit on. Well, about the time she started to put it on, Jonathan comes running up the stairs.
Her dad.
And says, what are you doing in here while she's changing? What are you doing, And Pete was like, well, I'm sorry. I don't even know if he actually saw anything.
Because he had his back to her.
Because he was holding the baby and the 8-year-old was there, so he said, I'm so sorry, and left.
So what were you saying, Jonathan, like just the difference, the discrepancy in sort of how your mom's making it sound?
Joni Lamb's version paints a picture of what she believes to be a misunderstanding. Here's her account. It all started when Pete commented on the city view, saying how much he liked it. Her grandson chimed in, expressing interest in showing Pete the view from a room upstairs. Pete, holding the baby, went along with the grandson to look out the window. Around this time, Joni's granddaughter entered the same room to change into her bathing suit. According to Joni, Pete and the grandson were still focused on the window while Pete held the baby. She emphasizes that Pete's back was turned to the granddaughter as she began changing. Then, Jonathan Lamb, the child's father, entered the room and was immediately alarmed. He questioned why Pete was present while his daughter was changing. Pete quickly apologized, saying he hadn't realized what was happening. Joni insists that Pete didn't see anything inappropriate and that the situation was a simple misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Joni defends Pete, arguing there were no ill intentions and that the context of Pete's actions was innocent. She also suggests that other details, such as Pete holding the baby and the grandson being present, are often left out when recounting the event. Now let's hear Jonathan's version of what really happened.
Yeah, so she basically changed the story to where Israel went up with and Ari followed after, when Suzy clearly saw.
So, let me tell you that. I haven't made any edits here. The original video has cuts in this section.
Yeah, so she basically changed the story to where Israel went up with and Ari followed after, when Suzy clearly saw.
So Israel and Ari are sharing a room. He has his bunk and she has hers, and they know, when the other one's changing, just look away. So Israel's on his little device. He's in his bunk, not paying attention. And that's when Ariel came and starts changing. And that's when followed her immediately. He goes, and started following her. So Joni's story, none of those women at that table were witness. She was not there. Joni and Marcus were down in the basement. So her and Rachel and Pete have concocted this fake story, and they're going to run with it. I was in the kitchen.
What happened in the kitchen when they followed up? Yes. I was in the bathroom of our room brushing my teeth when Suzy came to me and said, hey, just followed Ari up to go get her. Well, she was going to change into her swimsuit. So,
and that wasn't cool. Yeah.
No. I mean, her alarm bells went off. I knew immediately in my spirit like something was off, and that I literally ran as fast as I could to get up there.
Jonathan points out a significant difference between his mother's account of the events and his own. He clarifies that his mother changed the story, suggesting that his daughter and the boy, Israel, were involved in a situation where Pete allegedly followed his daughter upstairs. However, Jonathan explains that Israel, the baby boy, and his daughter were simply sharing a room. Israel was on his device and not paying attention while his daughter was changing. He emphasizes that when his daughter started changing, Pete followed her immediately, which he found concerning. Jonathan stresses that his mother, Joanie, and others weren't present when this happened and therefore weren't witnesses to the events. According to Jonathan, Joanie, Pete, and Rachel came up with a fake story to explain the situation. Jonathan then recalls how Suzy came to him after following his daughter upstairs, where she was about to change. The moment Suzy told him about this, Jonathan's instincts immediately went off, sensing that something was wrong. He says his gut told him that something wasn't right, and he rushed upstairs to intervene. He points out that his mother wasn't there and couldn't know what happened, which raises doubts about her version of the story.
If you take it back to 2020, when no one denied that the police did an investigation at the school, because at that point, someone at Daystar was not even a consideration. I would never go there. I did not want anyone to be guilty there. So I was constantly asking my daughter, my child, was it a boy? Was it at school? We kept texting the family, trying to figure out who it could be. She kept going along with everything I asked her. She's 5 years old. So at that point in 2020, even though there were suspicious things, I did not 100% didn't let my mind go there at all. I truly focused on the school. When the police shut the case on the school, I was actually very disappointed because it left me with no answers, and I wanted answers. So from there, things start building, and more than anything else, the truth is my child's behavior in front of this man. Every time he came around, her body would tighten up. She was terrified. She would hide. The only place she did not want to go was Daystar.
As the conversation shifts, Jonathan recalls an earlier incident where Rebecca and JW had warned him about Pete's behavior, making him uncomfortable. This led to further confusion, especially surrounding a past investigation at the school in 2020. Jonathan reveals that at that time, he was unaware of any troubling issues regarding Pete, but he began questioning things after his child's behavior changed whenever Pete was around. His daughter's fear of Pete became a red flag for Jonathan, as she would often hide from him and express distress whenever he appeared. Jonathan goes on to explain how the situation with Pete escalated, starting with a police investigation that turned up no answers. However, after his daughter confided in him about her experiences with Pete, he began to suspect something deeper was happening. He shares how others in the family, such as Rebecca and JW, also observed concerning behavior, such as Pete kissing his daughter's neck, which confirmed his fears.
And that's how we knew it wasn't the school, because after she told us about the abuse, she didn't have a problem going back to her school. She loved her school, but she did have a problem going to Daystar.
Yeah, the very day we met the teacher, she wanted to stay in school. They are trying to concoct a new story with the process of what that looked like in that short period of time while the police were investigating the school. From there, certain instances started to build up, but I was too terrified to say anything to anyone. That's when Rebecca and JW came to me, and I was shocked that somebody else was also picking up on these things, but they witnessed, him kissing her neck, her body, and they told me this, and I thank God for it. And then Denise was helping the family with other problems, like the other dynamics of the family. It had nothing to do with our child.
So, Denise Boggs, the founder of a healing ministry called Living Waters, was the person Joni Lamb recommended for counseling when Jonathan and Suzy needed help.
And in one session, because I didn't really have drama with anyone, so in my session is when I unexpectedly started open up to Denise about these things. And she started to put things together, and she said, well, this sounds like a guilty person. You got to be careful. Let's all pray, because we don't want to point. This is such a horrible accusation. We never want to point fingers at anyone. So God, make it clear. That's it. We didn't have any agenda to prove him guilty, nothing. In fact, we were hoping and praying it would not be him.
Because we knew the massive rift it would cause in the family if it was the family member. So we were obviously very careful to even consider that as an option or a possibility. It didn't even enter our minds, whenever our daughter first told Suzy about the abuse.
It's clear that there are different perspectives and emotions involved. We've heard from both Joni Lamb and Jonathan Lamb, and while their versions of events may differ, it's important to consider all sides and approach this sensitive topic with care and respect. What do you think? How should we navigate situations like this where multiple viewpoints exist? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please remember, to keep the conversation respectful as we continue to explore these complex issues together. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.